Hello and welcome, my leafs that aren't skilled enough to throw Pokeballs. Just like Papasea, as you will see in this video where he played Pokemon Heart Gold, but he can't catch any Pokemon.
Game, you probably think of catching a ton of Pokemon, but what if we did a hardcore Nuzlocke on Pokemon Heart Gold without catching a single Pokemon? One of the main things
Would be a hardcore Nuzlocke in Pokemon Heart Gold be like a hardcore Nuzlocke?
when it comes to catching Pokemon is to get as many Pokemon as you can, or should I say, catch them all, and we're just not going to catch any of them. This run was streamed live on my Twitch channel, link in the description, so if you want to watch a behind the scenes look at some of these videos and see how they're recorded, and while you're at it, consider leaving a like and subscribing for more Pokemon videos. Or just don't do any of that, I guess. I'll just stop talking and go right to the gameplay. We'll go over some of the Pokemon we can get without catching throughout the video, but for now we have the most basic one,
Okay, before we go right into it, basically, it sounds much harder than it is. But there are gift Pokemon. I think the easiest game to do this in would be Pokemon Yellow or the Let's Go games, because you get the starters, all three of them, gifted. And having that electric or with Eevee normal, but like the partner Eevee and Let's Go Eevee is crazy. With a Firegrass Water Core, that's just a good team. These Pokemon are strong. That's very doable. I think otherwise Gen 1 is pretty solid for that. The gift Pokemon you get less and less throughout the games for some reason. I'm not even sure if you get any in Scarlet Violet, honestly. From the top of my head, I wouldn't know any. Besides the starter, of course. You always get a starter, but yeah, it's not that hard.
Starter Pokemon. Now don't get me wrong, I love Chikorita, but sorry buddy, you're just not being picked here, and I'm sure you're pretty used to not being picked at all. And for
I am a Chikorita defender. I picked Chikorita and I had a lot of fun. Granted, I traded over the other starters as well, and I always run a team with all three starters in it. But still, I will always pick the grass type. And quite honestly, from each trio, the grass type also tends to be my favorite always. There is no trio where I like any other more than the grass type.
Totodile, there's a couple of other water types we could get throughout this playthrough, so I decided to pick Cyndaquil. Honestly, I just think Cyndaquil is really cute, and I'm currently soft resetting for a shiny Cyndaquil in my Pokemon Crystal version, and I've also, as I've talked about in like every video, been going for a shiny Turtwig in Platinum.
And so I think picking the fire starter is always a good idea in runs like this, where you limit yourself a lot, because fire type Pokemon tend to be kinda rare. Especially in Diamond Pearl, where, yeah, you only have Ponyta for whatever reason. Yeah, the fire is a good choice when it comes to a challenge like this.
For over 3 months. Now you might also notice there's this random gameplay of Pokemon Emerald going on the side of the screen. I am so shiny hunting pilled that I actually set up a DDR dance pad under my desk so I can play Pokemon Emerald through my GB operator and then play Heart Gold with my hands and essentially do some shiny hunting while doing other things hands-free. But I do have a video coming out where I do a Nuzlocke with the DDR dance pad that might already be up actually. I have no idea because time isn't real.
That is already up. I watched that and it was wild. But how crazy can you, I do it while I do my work. Well, my workout, I do indoor running. Get the Joy-Con, just do some shiny hunting via mass outbreaks.
Do I get a shiny in this video? Stick around and find out. I named Cyndaquil Steve. Why Steve, you're wondering? I don't know why. My chat just suggested the name Steve, and we're running on a nicknaming theme of generic white male names you would find from people who are from England. I too am a generic white male, so I guess the theme fits with me too. Not much happens for a while because I can't catch any Pokemon, but I did name my rival Badass. Not as funny as I thought when I first named him that in hindsight. Haha, get it? Hindsight. But to be fair, this rival is quite the ass.
Dead ass at hindsight. I get it. That's a good one.
You know who isn't an ass though? This guy named Primo in the Violet City Pokemon Center. Did you know that Primo is the son of the guy in Pokemon Violet and Leaf Green, as well as Red, Blue, and Yellow, who stops you from passing Viridian City once you get there, because he's laying down on the floor until you get the parcel. Did you know that his other son is the guy in Fire and Leaf Green who has the TGTV? Very
Fun fact about that old man blocking the road. In the original Red and Green, he was drunk. That is, I wouldn't even call it a censorship. That's a thing to do in the translation that I actually understand and also I am totally for that. That's a good change.
weird lore behind these minor characters that is never really explained, nobody cares about, but I think it's pretty neat. Primo here can give you up to 3 eggs, which include a Mareep, a Slugma, or a Wooper. You have to enter your trainer ID on this sketchy German website, and it tells you the random phrases you have to tell him in order to get each egg. I wish I was making that up since it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but the first egg we get is a Wooper named Ed. After smacking that ass in the tower, I can't believe I really wrote that, and healing up the team, I head in to fight against Falconer. I was trying to think of a pun to fit with Falconer and flying types, like I head up to the clouds to fight him. But that sounds lame, so instead Steve will lay waste his pathetic Pidgey, this thing is literally just a pigeon, then on the Oto, as I like to call it, Falconer says the
Why didn't you say something like, while I defeat his mighty birds, I look pretty fly doing that. I would also like add insult to injury because you beat his flying types while looking fly.
The wind is finally with us.
You're pretty fly for a white guy. I couldn't help myself.
But the only wind with him is the wind from my farts after the absolute shitting I did on his entire team to get our first gym badge. I'm trying my best to be a bit less held back in these videos now, so if that's too much, honestly, I'm just not sorry. You can just deal with it. But for now, we get a Togepi egg, which will hatch shortly. We eventually meet Kurt and he tells us about his pocket monster balls, then take on Team Rocket in the Slowpoke well. Kurt would help us, but he fell and hurt his back. When I was a kid, I thought this was a lame cop-out for Kurt not helping you out, but now that I'm older and have random hip pain by just existing, I kind of relate to Kurt a lot more than I did as a kid. And the Wooper is able to
Yeah, it's so true. Like, when I was younger, like 16 or something, I got Final Fantasy IX and I didn't even realize that I played it for 3 days straight. I did not sleep for 2 nights in a row. That's like, how was I able to do this? Nowadays, with 36, I sneeze and me sneezing hurts me in my sides. It's like something in there isn't right anymore because of sneezing. Buddy, why are you doing that? Stop it!
handle most of their Pokemon, so Kulava can be saved up for the Bug-type gym and not be overleveled. Following the well, I run around and hatch a Togepi egg that we name Phil, a dapper lad he is indeed, then prepare to fight Bugsy. This gym gives me bad flashbacks to the ROM hack Pokemon Sacred Gold, which is a much harder version of Heart Gold, where I really struggled in Bugsy's gym. Luckily this time we have a cool lava to decimate all the junior trainers. Then for Bugsy we get a burn on his lead Scyther, which honestly probably helped out a lot in this battle because that Scyther was doing a lot of damage. Then his other Pokemon are just a Kakuna and a Metapod. I don't understand how you can be a gym leader in any region and have a Kakuna and Metapod on your team, but we get through Bugsy for our second gym badge.
Gym leaders I will never understand anyway. The thing is, how they did it in Pokemon Origins makes sense. Because they ask, how many badges do you have? And then you say, yeah, I have none. Then I use this team. That makes sense. However, the games make it pretty clear that these teams you are fighting against are their actual teams. Because a lot of times when you rematch them, they said, hey, I trained up to become stronger. And then they have a new team. Which means also that this team, with fully evolved Pokemon mostly, is a team in new, like, for example, Brock. He has, like, Onyx, of course, and Golem then. But you as a newcomer, you take your Bulbasaur and be like, oh yeah, Bulbasaur, I like that, that's cool. Also, Bulbasaur's pretty great against Brock. He doesn't say, why do you have a Golem? How do I have a chance against this? Yeah, it's dumb. Well, they did the right thing to do. Make these teams the gym teams. Make the gym leaders have 2 teams. You fight them as a gym leader, they use that team depending on how many badges you have, or if there's a certain order you have to defeat them in, then they just go with that. And then their actual team for them, not as gym leaders but as trainers. And that's the rematch team. That would be the logic. But no, Pokemon games do tell you that that is not the case. And it's stupid.
Following Bugsy, we have one of the harder fights in the game in the next rival fight. This rival battle is similar to the infamous rival battle in Ruby and Sapphire before Mauville City, which is known for being quite hard, but this battle is also very hard. The difference this time is even worse because your rival's a jerk in this game, unlike in Ruby and Sapphire. I lead with Phil since he has some poison type moves and we have extra sensory. It's enough to one-shot his lead Ghastly, then on Crocodile I go to Ed since he's scary faces. We're already pretty slow, so it doesn't really matter having our speed even lowered. Then this bozo just scary faces again as Mudshot does minuscule damage. He just keeps spamming scary face, and look at Crocodile's face! It's really not that scary, it's actually quite cute. Why do I have this? Don't ask. He then goes for Rage, which does a whopping 6 damage as we slowly chip away with him, and then he goes for Water Gun, which is amazing on Ed since it has Water Absorb and just gets healed off. A Bite Flinch on the following turn was a little scary and annoying, but we still take out his ace Pokemon. Then on Zubat I play it safe and swap into Cool Lava to finish off that ass. Through the Elex or Ilex or I don't care forest, we have to save this Farfetch. Still don't have a Shiny and Emerald version by the way. And as soon as we make it to Goldenrod City, we recruit this gift Spearow named Kenya from this police officer that we're supposed to give to his friend. But I just steal it because stealing from the government is always morally correct. Okay, disclaimer here, do not steal from the government, you will get in trouble. Another cool thing we can do—
Yeah, good disclaimer there. I was about to say, wait, no. Stealing from the government is also not okay. Stealing in general, you should not steal. Period. It's not fair. Yes, there is unfair stuff going on, and sometimes you deserve something you don't get, but, like, stealing isn't the way to go. Sometimes the world is just unfair, which is shit, but doesn't excuse stealing.
Do in Goldenrod City is gamble. Well, sort of, since the European Union or whatever kind of ruined this game for us, and we don't have a traditional game corner as that was removed in the international versions outside of Japan for Voltorb Flip. Either way—
No, gambling should not be in game. Gambling is shit. Gambling should be forbidden in every country, and I hate that it still isn't against the law completely over here in Germany as well. Gambling is just no. Don't gamble. You will lose. It's bad. It's making you sick. It's actually becoming an addiction, and it has so many problems, and it shouldn't be, not be in a Pokemon game or in any other game on top of that.
I get thousands of totally legit coins from gambling to afford a Dratini named Phil that we can use to see into the future. Yeah, I know I said I already had a Togepi named Phil that I just forgot, and the reason why Dratini can see into the future was part of the original video idea that I scrapped, but this is an important plot point later on with Dratini being able to see into the future, so just bear with me. Dratini even gets Dragon Rage pretty early on, which is pretty overpowered in the early parts of the game, and I may or may not have been hit by some unfavorable RNG against Whitney with a flinch critical hit. But the reality is Dratini can just see into the future, and it told me that if I go into this fight right now, that would happen, and it didn't actually happen in our reality. So instead I start to game plan a bit harder and look into what held items we can use to help against Whitney. The solution, of course, is more gambling, but this time in the department store lottery. We can get Oran Berries this way to help heal our Pokemon in battle, and after only one didn't count claws after getting the berry, Dratini narrowly lives with just 1 HP to take out Whitney's Miltank. We didn't even end up needing the Oranberry after all, but we had—
Wait, didn't it just go down to 0 there? Are you cheating, Papa? See? I see you!
such favorable RNG in that matchup in order to get our 3rd gym badge. Then after the battle, I realized we have 2 Phils on the team in Dratini and Togepi, and since Dratini is just cooler than Togepi, I renamed Dratini to Cool Phil. Wooper eventually evolves into—
One thing is, when it comes to Dratini and Dragonair, I would agree, but Togekiss is cooler than Dragonite.
Quagsire next, which is a huge upgrade, and I give Phil a haircut to help boost its happiness for potential Togepi evolution into Togetic as we head up north. One unfortunate part about this whole no catching Pokemon challenge hardcore Nuzlocke thing, while I also shiny hunt an Emerald on the corner at the same time, that's a mouthful, is that I can't even participate in the bug catching contest since we have to catch Pokemon to participate. This was always one of my favorite things to do in Pokemon as a kid, and it's a shame that we never got something quite like this in future Pokemon games. This leads us to Egritique City, which has a lot of lore and history in the Johto region behind it, but to be honest, I don't really care about all that right now. I just want to get talking to Bill so we can then head back to Goldenrod City to get a gift Eevee that we named George. Eevee is one of the best Pokemon we can get for this entire run, because we can evolve it into whatever type we need to fit our team later on down the line when we end up using it. Since the encounter pool is so limited in this game, I decided to pick up other encounters that are technically on the same area as other gift Pokemon we got previously. We make up our own rules around here, so I go back to the Eggman and get Slugma and Mareep eggs after visiting the sketchy German website again to figure out what codes we need to enter to get these eggs. Before they hatch, I return to the game corner to pick up an Abra named Fred and an Ekans named Boyd. Apparently, Boyd is a pretty common British name, at least according to British people in my Twitch chat, and British people would never lie, right? Then once our eggs hatch, we get a Mareep named Robert and a Slugma named Gary, which I'm now just realizing fits even more because Slugma's a snail, much like Gary from SpongeBob. Then while grinding, Kenya, Ekans, and Abra all evolve, with Kadabra being the hard carry for the next few fights due to how strong it is. Now we can go into this tower that is burned and is aptly named the Burned Tower to meet Yucine. I don't really know what his deal is and how he doesn't see Suicune, who is literally right under his nose. Then we fight our rival once more. Steve has
that part also, they could have easily fixed that logical issue by just darkening that area. You don't have to make it like black that you can't see anything, but make it so that it's so dark that you can barely make out any shapes, but nothing really specific. That would look much better even, and yeah, quite honestly, then you wouldn't have the logical problem of him not seeing that.
Flamethrower now that we got from the game corner, which is enough to one-shot his lead Ghastly. Then on Croconaw I switched to Cool Fill, which unbeknownst to me was a bit of a risky move as he has Ice Fang now. Luckily it goes for Scary Face first, then once I remember that Ice Fang is a move, I pivot to Arbok for the Intimidate and also take the Ice Fang, and then I just stay in with Arbok and go for Crunch. We get a defense drop, so after taking another Ice Fang I Crunch again, get another drop, and then knock out on the following turn. For his Zubat I switch into Ed to Ice Beam it for the one-hit KO, and this last Pokemon is Magnemite, which goes down to a single Mud Bomb from Ed. Next I go downstairs and awaken the legendary beast with Yucine and prepare to fight Morty's Ghost-type team. Looking at our team, I realize that Boyd the Arbok matches up very nicely with Crunch to demolish all of the gym trainers, leading us to Morty himself. He leads with Ghastly, which Arbok outspeeds and knocks out with Crunch. Then on Haunter we outspeed again and go for the one-shot. This levels us up to level 26 for his Gengar. It's fast, but just goes for a mean look on us. I didn't plan on switching out anyway, so we go for Crunch, get a critical hit and take out the Gengar. Then on his final Haunter we outspeed and one-shot with Crunch as well to get through Morty without even taking any damage at all. So far this run is going great, swimmingly in fact, as my last hardcore Nuzlocke have been definitely hardcore Nuzlocke, and I'm now just realizing that Morty is probably named Morty after Mortician, as in like dead people, much like how Price is named Price because it sounds like ice. Falconer kind of sounds like Falcon. Bugsy is pretty
I wouldn't say Faulkner is because of Falcon, but because of Falconer. Someone who trains falcons. That's much more. As you realize that only now? Okay. I am not gonna say anything about that.
Self-explanatory. And Chuck is kind of like Chuck Norris, or just to like chuck something as he chucks a rock in gold and silver when you first fight him. Our trusty Kadabra helps us get through all the
Fuck Chuck Norris at this point. Google what he did, and you know why you should stop making those dumb jokes.
trainers on the next route though, leading us to Olivine City. Way back in the day, when I did one of my first ever Nuzlocke, it was on Pokemon Crystal version, and I lost it in the lighthouse, so hopefully history doesn't repeat itself here. Also, in case you were wondering, still no shiny in Pokemon Emerald. As for the lighthouse, none of these trainers are particularly difficult or anything, there's just a lot of them in rapid succession, and the city should really inspect this building because I don't think this lighthouse is up to code. We eventually reach the top and see Jasmine tending to the sick Ampharos. She asks us to surf over to Cyanwood City to get some medicine for the Ampharos. Sounds like a simple task, but little did I know that our adventure in Cyanwood City would lead to a wild goose chase for a Pokemon that probably isn't even that good. It's also a Pokemon that's a gift Pokemon that went unknown in this game for about 10 years. But first, we collect the medicine and steal another Pokemon in Shucky the Shuckle from this random dude. Will I end up using it? Probably not, but now let's try for this weird gift Pokemon. It turns out that this NPC in the Pokemon Center could give you a Tentacool. I say could because there's a lot of criteria to actually get this Tentacool. He only gives it to you if you don't have a Pokemon with Surf or a Pokemon that can learn Surf in your party or in your PC when you're at the city. The game doesn't make that easy though, since if you try to release your only Pokemon that has access to Surf, the game just won't let you release it and the Pokemon will come back to you, so you don't get soft locked. But if you say, go to Cianwood City, use the Pokemon Center, head back to the daycare near Goldenrod City, deposit your only Pokemon with Surf or only Pokemon that can know Surf in there, and use Teleport to go back to Cianwood City, you'll be back in Cianwood without a Pokemon that can learn Surf, and thus you should be stranded. I tried.
That is the shit that made you once upon a time encounter missing though.
This, and it would appear that we would be stuck now, Step Bros, but this guy still won't give us a Tentacool. I thought maybe it was because we had Fearow with us as well, which could learn Fly after beating Chuck and get us out of this town, so I reset the game and this time deposit our Wooper with Surf in the daycare as well as our Fearow, as it's the only thing that we have at the moment that can learn Fly. Then I just released Dratini, since the only other Pokemon we have access to right now that can learn Surf. We can get another Dratini later on after defeating Claire, or we could just get another one in the game corner if we really wanted to, so it isn't really that big of a deal, except for some reason, when I do all of this, have no Pokemon with Fly, and no Pokemon with Surf and return to Cianwood, we still don't get the Tentacool. We're stuck here without any Pokemon to learn Surf, without any Pokemon that can learn Fly, so we have no way of escaping. I thought that...
So you somehow broke the fail switch that Nintendo put, or Game Freak put into this game. How do you manage to do that? Okay, what could be the problem? Can Arbok learn Surf? Sounds weird, but I mean, Rhydon can.
Maybe we had to beat Chuck first to get the next gym badge, so the game would then see that we can't use Surf or Fly, and thus can't leave the city. So I decided to challenge Chuck, and Kadabra makes short order of his fighting type Pokemon, then we get the badge as well the HM for Fly, but it still doesn't work, and this guy will not give me his Tentacool, which, fun fact, can be shiny. You could stop yourself for this, which is really cool. It turns out that for whatever reason, the only way to get this weird gift Tentacool is to release all but one Pokemon in your PC and party, then talk to this guy, and he will give you a Tentacool so you can leave the city. Since this is a Nuzlocke, releasing all but one Pokemon, well technically 3 because we count the daycare Pokemon, doesn't seem like a fair trade just for a Tentacool. Luckily I saved the game before doing all of the shenanigans so I can just reset and fight Chuck again, foregoing the Tentacool encounter that I spent so much time and energy trying to get. The likelihood of this even happening by accident is really low, so they probably didn't expect.
If you accidentally do that, then they add insult to injury by having you need to release all other Pokemon. That is mean. I thought this was supposed to help you, but that is mean.
Expect that to happen, but again, if they didn't expect it to happen, then why even include Tentacool in the first place when it wasn't in Gold and Silver? I spent so much time trying to get that stupid Tentacool that Tentacool is now joining Archeops on my least favorite Pokemon list for just being really annoying. With that Tentacool behind us, we can fly back to the mainland of Johto and head eastward into Mahogany Town. There's a gift Pokemon around here that we can come back later to pick up, but for now we have to defeat this funny colored Gyarados and help Lance clear out Team Rocket from the sketchy Pokemart. We even turn off the cameras in the underground to fight less grunts now, which a lot of people don't know you can do, by the way. We find the passwords, and Team Rocket, you need better security, so that's where our sponsors, okay, just kidding, there's no sponsor for this video because I didn't have time to review the product, record the ad for them, and get it in this video. And I don't think they would take too kindly to me naming my rival that ass. But once we crack their passwords, we fight Petrol of Team Rocket. Fred does well against his Raticate, but his Raticate did Sucker Punch us, which terrified me. Then immediately after the Sucker Punch, I remember the move Pursuit, but his last Pokemon is just Coughing, which doesn't have Pursuit, and goes down pretty easily. Following Petrol, we have a double battle against Ariana and a Team Rocket Grunt. Lance is our partner for this double battle, and has a level 40 Dragonite, which is over double the level of the Grunt's lead Drowsy. Kadabra one-shots Arbok as Dragonite goes for Fly. Next comes in Murkrow, which is a Dark-type Pokemon, so I should switch out since I only have Psychic-type attacking moves on my Kadabra. Then, like 5 minutes after I was just talking about Pursuit, Murkrow goes for pursuit and knocks out our Kadabra.
Oh.
Down goes Fred for the first casualty of this weird no-catching Pokemon hardcore Nuzlocke, as Dragonite's Fly lands on the Drowsy, so even if I had stayed in, Kadabra would have most likely fallen on the same turn. We still have
Yeah, that Kadabra just didn't have any chance. That was gone.
Eevee in the PC to potentially evolve into Espeon later on if we do need a Psychic-type Pokemon, but for now we use Quagsire to finish off the next few Pokemon until Gloom comes out, so go to Kolava to be safe, and then promptly defeat Team Rocket. Next, since we hate Pokeballs so much and never throw any of them and even toss them out when we get any of them, we defeat these weird-looking Pokemon that look like Pokeballs, say goodbye to lands, and then go back to the surface to prepare for the next gym fight against Price. I know I'm doing it a bit out of order, but that's because the levels in this game are weird. I take out Mareep that we have in the PC and level it up to become an Ampharos to hit Price's Water-type Pokemon super effective. It does work wonders against all the gym trainers, but we do have to be careful for Swinubs and Piloswines as they're part Ground-type. Price just leads with his Seal though, as Robert outspeeds and takes it out with a single Thunderbolt. He goes right to Piloswine next, which I expect to go for a Ground-type move, so go to Quagsire to take a Mud Bomb. Our accuracy drops a bit and he goes for Hail, and then we miss the Surf. I stay in as Price goes for Blizzard, having absolutely no chill, but we live and land a Surf which doesn't get the knockout. He's at just above half health after using his Berry, and expecting a second Blizzard which could knock out Quagsire, I just go into Kolava. Blizzard does about a quarter damage to Kolava, so I know we can take another hit, and potentially a ground type move even. So I played a bit risky and go for Flamethrower with Kolava to finish off the Piloswine. Then, on his last Pokemon in Dugong, I expect a water type move, so I go to Ampharos and take an Aura Beam instead. It doesn't do that much damage as the hail stops, so we take a second Aura Beam, then Thunderbolt knocks out the Dugong. The battle was a little scary, having to go to Kolava on his ground-type Pokemon, but now we have to go back to fight Jasmine. I know it's technically out of order, but Jasmine's Pokemon, for some reason, are a level higher than Price, despite Price technically being the 7th gym leader. For Jasmine, I lead with Quagsire and Mud Bomb her lead Magnemite for the one-hit KO, then I go for Surf on her Steelix, which barely lives a hit, but then she heals with her Berry to go out of potion range like a dummy, and then fall to a second Surf. Then on their other Magnemite, I just Mud Bomb it again to get our 7th gym badge with only a single casualty in the entire run so far. This has been one of the best runs I've ever had in Hardcore Nuzlocke so far, as we got this far in the game with just one single death, but with how limited our Pokemon pool is, I'll definitely take it. Once exiting the gym, Professor Elm calls us about Team Rocket taking over Goldenrod City, so we have to go and save the city. I prepare the team for this endeavor.
That is... yeah. I like half of this team, going only by the Pokemon, not their strength or anything, not how powerful they are. I love Ampharos, it was on my team, and I do love Quilava. I always have all the starters, so it was also on my team in Gold and Silver, or Hard Gold and Soul Silver. And I do like Dragonair. Dragonite I also like, but it's cool, but yeah. The others, I don't really like Quagsire. I don't mind Arbok, and I don't like Pharaoh.
And in the process, Kolava evolves to Typhlosion. Since Team Rocket has a plethora of poison-type Pokemon, I also take out the Eevee from the PC and evolve it to Espeon. We can do this by just running around for a while to boost its happiness, but unfortunately, since Team Rocket took over the entire city, we can't give Eevee a haircut to boost its happiness even more, and we can't even check on the happiness checker since Team Rocket is blocking that part of the city and we can't get in. It learns Psybeam on evolution, which is great. Then our dumb rival blows our cover when we try to enter the radio tower, forcing us to fight the first of many Team Rocket grunts. This guy's just a grunt, but his Sucker Punch going for Raticate, yeah, I wrote Sucker Punch going for Raticate there, really scares me. We live the hit and get through him, and all the other grunts we face here are pretty easy. We eventually make it to the Imposter Director's room, who is pretty sus. Much like how Kadabra matched up well against Team Rocket grunts here, Espeon matches up well here as well, to get through his army of coughings in just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. This unlocks the underground, where our rival has terrible timing yet again, and decides to fight us as we're in the middle of infiltrating an evil organization's attempts to bring down their plans. The levels are a bit lower here than the last gym though, which makes it a bit easier than it should. I know talking about Johto's level gaps is a bit like beating a dead horsey, but it does have a lot of weird gaps that make some things a lot easier depending on the order you go about them, since there's no reason why these trainers should have a lower level than the last previous key boss. Then one
that is, like, Johto, I love the region for its looks, but the level stuff, like the balancing in these is awful. It's just awful.
Saving the real director of the radio tower in the underground, we go back into the actual tower and fight a couple of more Team Rocket admins. Proton has a Golbat and a Weezing that Espeon take care of really quickly, then Ariana leads with an Arbok which goes down to a single attack and sends out her Murkrow next. I'm expecting Pursuit here, but I have no moves on Espeon to hit Murkrow, so I try switching to Ampharos. She goes for Pursuit though, and my heart sinks, but Espeon must have been way bulkier than I thought, at least more bulkier than Kadabra, and lives this hit with only taking about half damage. It's also a relaxed nature which might have helped, with then our trusty Fearow finishing off Ariana. Fearow, we haven't used you much buddy, but remember, you're doing a great job, and you're one of my favorite Pokemon now for no real reason. Now for Archer, he just has a Houndoom, Houndour, and Coughing. We have Quagsire. I don't think I need to say more. With Team Rocket finally out of our hair, we can head through the ice path into Blackthorn City. Here we prepare to fight Claire's Dragon-type Pokemon, which we can't really hit all that hard. We have our own Dragonair with Dragon Rush, but it's also weak to Dragon, as well as Quagsire with Ice Beam and Water Absorb, but Quagsire is so slow that over
I also think it's weird how you always beat the evil team before the Elite Four. Oh, at least it depends on the game, but ever since Gen 3, I would say. It's like, you are a Newcomb trainer, you earn some badges, and then you go up the evil team. And the evil team gets a literal god that you defeat. You defeat, like Groudon, or Dialga, or something, you know? And then you go to the Elite Four, and they should be a challenge still? If these Elite Four members are stronger than that god you already defeated, why didn't they already solve the problem with the evil team? I would say there are exceptions. Of course, with Team Rocket, for example, in Red Blue, also Gold Silver, you don't fight these gods. They aren't part of Team Rocket's story. Or in Scarlet and Violet, it makes sense that those professors are the final bosses, because yeah, you also don't really fight a god beforehand and stuff, and you have to do all the 3 quest lines and stuff. There it makes sense, but otherwise it's like you already achieved like a crazy big thing. The Elite Four are nothing, but they are still stronger somehow, level wise and stuff. But why put the evil teams at the end of the game? That makes so much more sense. The finale should be fighting the legend stuff.
time it'll take a beating from all of her dragons. These two still seem like the best options for this fight though out of all the Pokemon that we have thus far. Claire leads with a Gyarados, which means we should lead with Ampharos to one-shot with Thunderbolt. Then on her Dragonair, I decide to actually stay in and go for Discharge for some minimal damage and a chance for the paralysis. Dragonair does have the Shed Skin ability, but that ability doesn't activate every single turn to get rid of the status condition. This starts an awkward cat and mouse game of me trying to switch into Quagsire to get the Water Absorb health back from getting hit by a Water type move. She Thunder Waves here, which isn't bad, but makes no sense for her to go for that there, when going for a Water move just makes a lot more sense. Then she lives an Ice Beam and goes for a heal. The second Ice Beam misses the knockout too, as Dragon Pulse does a lot more before she falls to yet another Ice Beam. Then on Kingdra, I want to bait out another Water move and go back to Quagsire to heal. I figured she would go for Dragon Pulse here, so Typhlosion should be able to take that hit. To be extra safe, I even pivot to Kenya the Fearow first instead, which should take any move, then go into Typhlosion expecting a Dragon type move. Luckily, she Dragon Pulses on Typhlosion does under half, so expecting a Water type move I go to Quagsire, as a Water type move would be enough to knock out Typhlosion. Claire does go for a Water type move in Hydro Pump, thankfully, but she misses the Hydro Pump. This is one of the very few times that I want my opponent to hit a strong move like Hydro Pump, but of course, she misses. This will make healing Quagsire that much harder. With our team weakened now, I go to Steve to try to bait another Water type move. She Dragon Pulses though, so I go back to Quagsire and she just Dragon Pulses instead of going for a Water move. This causes Quagsire to fall for the second casualty of the run, and from here on out, it isn't looking so hot. I do still have Dragonair as a last ditch effort with Dragon Rush though. We don't live a Dragon Pulse though when our Dragonair falls, and we-
Wait. Let me see the team again.
There's a last ditch effort with Dragon Rush though. We don't live a Dragon Pulse though in our Dragon. I do still have Dragon, and we still don't have a shiny Pokemon in Pokemon Emerald version in case you were wondering. So in our Dragonair, I do still have Dragon casualty of the run, and from here on out, it...
Okay, so isn't it looking good really? You have the Elite Four remaining. You can basically do lands with an Ice type move, which should be, yeah. I think Ampharos can learn Ice Punch, and I think Ice Beam on a Dragonite also, that would be good. That will work. Definitely. Yeah, throwing some dark type moves for Will and his psychic types. I think you're fine, honestly.
Isn't looking so hot. I do still have Dragonair's last ditch effort with Dragon Rush though. We don't live a Dragon Pulse though in our Dragonair Falls, and we still don't have a shiny Pokemon in Pokemon Emerald version in case you were wondering, despite me still going for it throughout this whole Nuzlocke. So I go into Espeon. Like I said earlier, it's a relaxed nature, so its speed is decreased and we're much slower. Take a smoke screen to lower our accuracy, and do pitiful damage with a Psybeam. Hydro Pump does a lot of damage, and from here on out, it's just a lost cause as our team slowly goes down to more Hydro Pumps, ironically enough, which she of course doesn't miss now, but she missed when I didn't want her to miss. We white out, so just for fun I try a few more attempts to see if RNG can work out in our favor. Sometimes her Dragonair goes for a water type when we want to on Quagsire, sometimes it doesn't, and most times against her just result in a total wipe ending the run, but there was one run where I got lucky and got the win at the expense of 4 casualties, which would just make the Elite Four, and especially Lance, who's just a harder version of Claire, impossible with the Pokemon we have left. So the run ends here. Can I beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Heart Gold without catching a single Pokemon? Apparently not. Perhaps with a different starter Pokemon, or different evolution, or different Pokemon altogether, we could have got through here though. You should also check out this video here where I beat Pokemon without the letter T. It's
yeah. It was a great run, but I think he could have won that. Honestly, it's not... People do single Pokemon only runs. And probably just with Ampharos only and stuff, and you had that. I think that is very possible. You were just very unlucky. I mean, it happens. I'm myself not a big challenge player, so yeah, I don't know if I could do it, but I think it's pretty doable, and it's just unlucky. I lost some challenge runs as well that are technically very doable, but oh well. Yeah, it was a good video. So leave him a like and a subscribe. Go to Papasea, original video link in the description. Also, leave me a like and subscribe, and check out this video. Bye. I'm gonna watch this now.